Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Wednesday. As the Apostle Paul writes to the church at Thessalonica about the mandate that they were given, he said, "We were entrusted with the gospel." He describes their demeanor and the way that they presented the gospel to these Thessalonians in chapter 2, verses 5 and 6, where he said, "For neither at any time did we use flattering words, as you know, nor a cloak for covetousness. God is our witness. Nor did we seek glory from men, either from you or from others, when we might have made some demands as apostles of Christ." It is important that we note that Paul was trying to woo people to be followers of his message and of the Lord for that matter, but he wasn't using flattering words to try to draw these people to the gospel. Some churches today like to have leaders with a charismatic personality that can draw people in or that can convince people to become followers. They also sometimes try to flatter people and make them think it's all about them. But the truth of the gospel is it's all about Christ who died for us. And some have taken the seeker-friendly approach way too far. They want to please folks and lure them into the church with whatever things they can use, maybe for their own covetous reasons. Maybe they want the numbers or the prestige or whatever. But we should allow the Holy Spirit to draw all men to himself. We believe the truth of the gospel, and if the Spirit draws them, they will believe it too. Whenever they hear it proclaimed, they will believe the gospel and come to Jesus Christ without any kind of practices that we have that would not be right. I like the way Paul reminds us of this. God is my witness. He knows how he behaved among them, but he also wants them to recognize he was not doing these things for their show. It was certainly the way that God had called him and directed him to carry the gospel. Paul goes on to say, "Nor did we seek glory from men, either from you or from others." You know, some people, and maybe some preachers today, seem to be in their ministry for the glory, for the prestige, the idea of leading people to follow after me. This is not a profession for glory seekers, to tell you the truth. Christ calls men to humble themselves. He actually tells them to take up their crosses, depicting a difficult road that they would take, and deny themselves daily to follow after Christ and for the sake of the gospel. I knew an older preacher that used to get up in the pulpit and always say, "Jesus, hide me behind the cross. I don't want to be seen. I don't want others to be looking at me. I want them to see Jesus and him crucified for their sakes." Paul said he could have made some demands on the people since he was an apostle. He was speaking of his position of leadership in the church here. But instead of that, he worked at night making tents. He worked all day preaching in the marketplace. Paul carried the gospel everywhere he went, not being a burden to anyone else. So what kind of things are we willing to sacrifice today in order to make sure that others around us hear the unadulterated gospel that is so pure and so clean that the Lord and the Holy Spirit of God draws them to himself through it? To follow the Spirit's leading, to know God is our witness. Or what kind of flattery and covetousness sometimes do we engage in? After all, you know that God is the one who will try us one day for what we have done for him.